We'll take a deep dive into an issue that has plagued the Islanders throughout the first 5 games of this season. What is the problem and what can they do about it? That and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to break down on today's show. We're going to start with the elephant in the room, and that is team defense. The Islanders have struggled with it. We'll talk about some of the numbers and some of the reasons behind it, and maybe some solutions as well. We'll also dig into your mailbag questions, and we'll preview tonight's game against the San Jose Sharks at UBS Arena. But let's start with the big problem that the New York Islanders are facing, and that's team defense. I don't think there's any pretty way to put it. And everydayers know we've discussed, Ilya Sorokin kind of struggling at times, and yes, he is. There's no doubt about that. He has a 4.13 goals against average, and that's not really going to get it done, nor is the .861 save percentage through 4 games. But here we are. The New York Islanders are 22nd in the league in goals against. And part of the reason for that is they've played fewer games than some of the other teams, but essentially through 5 games, the New York Islanders have given up 19 goals. And, that's practically 4 goals per game. The only game they gave up fewer goals was the win against Edmonton when David Riddick stood on his head and had a really strong game. But overall, if you look at things, the Islanders are just struggling defensively. And look, I agree. We haven't seen Ilya Sorokin's A game. He has let in a few soft goals. He certainly made some big saves against Ottawa, but again, also let in 1 or 2 goals that he certainly would want back. I think there's no question about that. But Patrick Waugh wants to play up-tempo, and he wants to give his defensemen the option to get out and get into the play and do a little bit more offensively when the situation presents itself. And in theory, that's good. It certainly makes for a more entertaining and exciting brand of hockey. I will say that much is true. But it's also resulting in a lot of high danger chances against the New York Islanders. And you break down the 6 defensemen who the Islanders are putting out there. Tony DeAngelo, good skater, good with the puck on his stick, good passer, but defensively, he leaves a lot to be desired. Matthew Schaefer, great speed, a lot of talent. Also, however, inexperienced and needs to, put on some weight and learn what he can and cannot do in the NHL. He is really playing well offensively, defensively, still making some rookie mistakes, and that's absolutely expected. Scott Mayfield, experienced, big, can be physical at times, but not very fleet of foot, nor are Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock at this stage of their career. And Alexander Romanov, who missed the last game Saturday due to an upper body injury. And by the way, Romanov will be a game time decision tonight against San Jose. But, Romanov, either he's been hurt or he just hasn't been playing particularly well. So they replaced him with Adam Boqvist on Saturday. And the duo of D'Angelo and Boqvist, which really is not an ideal combination defensively, they were outshot 14-3 against Ottawa Saturday, according to Natural Stat Trick. And when it was D'Angelo Romanov, it wasn't all that much better. Now, it's not just the goaltending, and it's not just the defensemen, because defense is a team game. And it means that the forwards have to back check. They have to, when the defenseman pinches, your forward has to cover for him. And, they absolutely have to work together and develop that chemistry where you just play a cleaner brand of hockey than what we've seen so far from this team. It is something that I can tell you right now, if the Islanders do not clean up, they beat Ottawa on Saturday 5-4, but this team is not going to score 5 goals or more than a handful of times this season. They're not built that way. They don't have the offensive horses to consistently win 5-4, 6-3. You're not going to get that kind of production on a consistent basis. And if you do get that kind of production, very often you are sacrificing team defense. And, right now, the Islanders, everyone's been asking, hey, what's wrong with Ilya Sorokin, right? What's wrong with Ilya Sorokin? And part of the problem is how many high danger chances the Islanders have given up. And it's got to improve. You're not going to, I don't care who the goalie is, if you're, near the bottom of the league as far as high danger chances allowed and all of those fancy analytic stats. If you're 30th or 31st in the league, right now, Islanders 26th in shots allowed per 60 minutes, 31st in expected goals allowed in 60 minutes at 5-on-5. These are numbers that are unsustainable if you hope that this team is able to, build on this 2-game winning streak. You win tonight, you're back at 500, and you can get back into the playoff hunt after that, really bad 0-3 start. And it wasn't just the record, it was the way the team was playing. That was a big concern. The thing about the Islanders, talent-wise, they remain in the middle. Kind of probably a little lower than the actual middle. If the middle of the league is 16th or 17th, straight talent, the Islanders are probably around 21st in the league. Can they make the playoffs if a bunch of things go right and they play well and they stay healthy? Yeah, that's the ceiling, as we've said. But you cannot be allowing as many high-quality scoring opportunities on a consistent basis as the Islanders are allowing. Now, they did better against Edmonton, but against Ottawa, it did not work out. Now, they won the game, but you're not winning consistently if you play the way the Islanders did against Ottawa. So, team-wise, they have got to balance. They've got to work out and get that sweet spot between overcommitting to offense and having the defensemen be very aggressive and being too conservative and trying to win every game 2-1. There's got to be that sweet spot. And again, the goal that Patrick Roy has of playing that up-tempo style doesn't exactly fit this roster just yet. There are more pieces now than there were a year ago to play that style. And hopefully Matthew Darche, as the season and as time goes on, whether it's this year, off-season next year, trades, the trade deadline, the draft, free agency next summer, you want to, if that's the kind of team you want to create, you've got to get players who fit that model. Until then, you may have to modify that structure that Patrick Roy wants to play, or you've got to bring in players who can play it more effectively. We'll see how it all plays out, but as of right now, that's where we stand. And if the Islanders can clean this up and just be a little bit more consistent in their own zone, there is a chance that this team could be better than what we've seen so far this year. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We'll dip into the mailbag with a couple of your questions about the future of this team. We'll preview tonight's game against the Sharks. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a defenseman who was with the team in the early to really for most of the 90s. Let's see if you can guess who this young Virginia native is. We've got all that and a lot more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays to increase my odds. I've tried player props, and I've even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Place that first $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. Check it out today. Today's episode is also sponsored by Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. So let's dip into the mailbag. And the first one comes from John from Smithtown, who sent in this question. Now, we have always struggled signing big ticket free agents. And I feel like they want a fast paced team. But if you do that, you need to sign a big ticket free agent. You can't just develop them all. So now my question is, if the Islanders have a good future and are winning, do you think they will sign a big free agent just because they are winning, or will they still struggle? John, first of all, thank you for the question. And I think it's a good one. And I don't think there's a simple answer to this question. It's like there has to be a first, okay? And eventually the Islanders will sign a big ticket free agent. It will eventually happen. The first one is going to be a big one. And whether that happens, I'm making up examples, but let's say a player who Matthew Darche knows and had a relationship with from the Lightning organization becomes a free agent, a big ticket free agent. And you go out and sign that player, and he's more willing to sign with the Islanders because he is comfortable with and gets along well with Darche or with Patrick Roy. Or if the team does play better, it obviously increases the odds of getting a free agent to sign there. It is not going to be easy, but once you break the ice, you sign that first big ticket free agent, I think the floodgates will open up. Now, I'm not saying the Islanders will all of a sudden be signing 4 or 5 elite free agents every year. There are cap ramifications. There are, limitations to all of this stuff. But we have a new GM. We have Matthew Schaefer, who certainly the idea of playing with a guy like Schaefer should attract players because they know Schaefer's going to be here for a long time. If you put together a young, up-and-coming team, finding a player who would be willing to step up and step in, I think is not impossible. In fact, it gets more likely, as you said, the more success the team has. So, John, I think it's out there. I think it will happen. I think once it happens once, it'll be easier to happen again. And we'll just have to see, how quickly and when and if it happens. So I think we're getting closer to that point. I think Darche gives us more of an opportunity. The cap is constantly going up. Now, the negative aspect of the cap going up is that a lot of teams are signing their potential unrestricted free agents right now, this offseason, because the cap is going up. They all know this is the last year that you can get an 8-year deal before the new CBA knocks it down to 7. So the free agent class may be smaller, but again, let's get one, and then I think more will follow. Next question is from Thomas from Queens. And Thomas says, once the NCAA season ends, do you see Cole Eiserman on the Islanders? It's early still in this season to tell, but I think it's a real possibility. Cole Eiserman is, let's assume he continues to score goals at the pace he's been scoring goals at. Could he turn pro? Let's say in late March, early April, whenever, his team is eliminated from postseason competition. And they could go again all the way to the Frozen Four. We don't know. But again, everyone always looks at the goal totals, and they are great. But for Cole Eiserman to be ready to play professionally, and then to be ready to play on the big club, on the Islanders, not the Bridgeport Islanders, but the New York Islanders. What he does away from the puck is going to be really important in determining that readiness. I could very well see Eiserman turning pro at the end of this college season. Whether or not that means he plays down in Bridgeport to close out the season, or whether he shows enough that he can play in the NHL, it would not surprise me if the Islanders do make the playoffs this year, that Eiserman is up with the team practicing. Whether or not he'd actually get into a game or not during the regular season or during the playoffs remains to be seen. I would put the chances at about 45% that he will turn pro and join the Islanders at some point this season. And if it's not this season, I think at the end of next season, that possibility goes up a lot. So again, Thomas, it's really a lot about what he does without the puck. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to continue to make progress. But so far, so good from Cole Eiserman in year 2 of his college career. All right, we have got more to get to. Islanders, Sharks tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. We'll preview the game. Plus, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. All that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. I love how if you have a significant other, Monarch can help both of you stay on the same page. And Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. So the Islanders trying to make it 3 wins in a row as they host the San Jose Sharks tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And this is the only team in the National Hockey League right now that has yet to win a game. The Sharks are the poster children right now for what a full rebuild looks like. And you go back for a 10 to 15 year period from, let's say, the late 90s until, the late 20 teens, the Sharks were a consistent contender year in and year out, made one trip to the Cup final, but did not win a cup. And then, the team got older and they went with the full rebuild, and you've got a lot of young and talented players on this roster, but not a lot of players who are, there yet. Let's put it that way. To tell you about how young this team is, they have gotten blown out in some games. They've been close in others. But in the third period of their games this year so far, they've been outscored 10-3, and they've been outscored 2-0 in overtime. They're 30th in the league in goals scored, 31st in the league in goals against. Now, beware, because their power play is 7th at 27.8%. The penalty kill, 21st at 75%. The goaltenders, you've got Alex Nedeljkovic and Yaroslav Askarov. Askarov, the young future of this goaltending, but boy, he has struggled. He is 0-1 right now with an .833 save percentage and a goals against average just below 6.5, 6.47. You've got young talent on this team. Macklin Celebrini, 5 points in 5 games. You've got Will Smith. You've got William Eklund. We have noticed, for example, Michael Misa. Now, Misa has only played 2 games out of 5 so far for the Sharks, and he has yet to score. He's a -3, and he has 2 shots on goal in those 2 games, but they're bringing him along slowly, and we'll see how he develops. Looking at the line combination, Celebrini, Tyler Toffoli, and Will Smith make the top line. Alex Wenberg, William Eklund, and Jeff Skinner are the next trio. Misa centers the third line right now with Colin Graff and Adam Gaudette on either side of him. And then Ty Del'Andrea centers Barclay Goodrow and Ryan Reeves on the fourth line. Defensively, Dmitry Orlov and Mario Ferraro are the top pair. Nick Leddy, the former Islander, and Vincent Iorio are the second pair. And then it's Sam Dickinson, the young, talented defenseman, and Vincent Desharnais as the third pair. We mentioned the goalies, Askarov or Nedeljkovic. Carey Price officially on IR, as is Ryan Ellis, but those are more cap moves. John Klingberg listed as day-to-day. Timothy Liljegren on IR. Colin White is out. That's where we stand right now. Look, San Jose, you got to let this team beat themselves. But the other thing is you've got young, talented players out there. You can't give them time and space to operate because these kids, they may not be disciplined or consistent yet, but they're capable. And the Islanders, this is a bit of a trap game. The Islanders have won 2 straight. They cannot take their foot off the gas. They cannot say, oh, yeah, it's just the Sharks. We've got this. You've got to put this team away. They are young. They are inexperienced. And right now, they're not great. But this is a young team on the rise. And it's almost good that the Islanders are catching them here in October because by March, they should be playing better hockey than what we're seeing for them now. Let's see if the Islanders can get back to 500. Patrick Waugh announcing, by the way, that Alexander Romanov game time decision. We don't know. There's some possibilities that Simon Holmstrom could be a healthy scratch tonight. We'll keep you updated on that on social media. And looks like Max Siplikov is coming back in. We'll see whether or not Holmstrom sits or whether or not McLean sits. That it remains up in the air. And it will be Ilya Sorokin in goal tonight. Thursday against Detroit, it'll be David Riddick. So those are updates about the Islanders lineup as of right now. Time for our Islanders birthday of the day. And Wednesday will be the 53rd birthday of former Islanders defenseman Scott LaChance. The Charlottesville, Virginia native spent 1 year at Boston University, was a first-round pick, 4th overall by the Islanders back in 1991, made his Islanders an NHL debut in the 91-92 season, stayed on the island through the trade deadline in 98-99, then played for the Habs, the Canucks, and the Blue Jackets before briefly finishing his career in the minors and in Switzerland. In 819 career NHL games, LaChance scored 31 goals, 143 points, and accumulated 567 penalty minutes at a goal, 3 points in 11 playoff games, 3 of those with the New York Islanders. One of his better games as an Islander, well, how about this? March 16th, 1993, Islanders visiting the Sharks in the old Cow Palace. And the goalies for this game, it's Glenn Healy for the Islanders, Arturs Urbe for San Jose. And with the Islanders up 1-0, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Scott LaChance scores a goal late in the first period. David Volek and Patrick Flatley with the assist. And then in the second period, LaChance makes it 3-0 with his second goal of the game. Travis Green and Marty McGinnis with the helpers there. And later on in the game, late, LaChance and Ray Ferraro set up flatly. Islanders crushed the Sharks by a score of 6-0 for Scott LaChance, 2 goals and an assist. So it's a 3-point game. He's a +3. He had 4 shots on goal. Scott LaChance is our Islanders birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from the Islanders game against the Sharks, and we'll have our weekly farm and prospects report, so make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the game tonight. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.